Good morning to all our attendees, and good afternoon, or in the case of our distinguished guest today, who is participating with us from New Delhi, India, where it is now 8 p.m., good evening, and welcome to a very special webinar. I am very pleased and honored to have with us today Mr. B.B Nanawati. Mr. Nanawati is the Deputy Director General for the Unique Identification Authority of India, Planning Commission, the Government of India. Mr. Nanawati was born in India and studied Masters in Science and Humanities. He joined the Indian Civil Service in 1983. He has worked in the Taxation Department of the Government of India in various positions and has been rewarded for his pioneering work for setting up the Tax Information Network in the Income Tax Department. He has over 12 years' experience in the program management and implementation of large and complex e-government projects. He specializes in design and implementation of e-governance projects in public-private partnership mode, managing large multiple teams, process capability and outsourcing of non-core governmental functions, and public procurement in information technology. He is an expert in public procurement policies, financial rules and processes, business rules, government tendering, and contract finalization. He was also the project in charge for the implementation of one of the largest IT projects in the field of taxation for the Government of India. Presently, working as the Deputy Director General for Technology in the Unique Identification Authority of India, he is in charge of program management for technology, for allocating the unique identification number to all residents of India. This involves state-of-the-art biometric detail capture in a large-scale identification program, which will involve more than 1.2 billion residents of India. Before we begin, I would like to remind all our attendees that we will be pleased to take questions at the end of our discussion today. To ask a question, just simply type it into your dialog box in the Go To control panel on the right side of your screens. Also, if there are topics that you would like us to cover in future webinars, please let us also know in the dialog box. I would also like to thank Maxine Most from Acuity Market Intelligence, who was a presenter on our last webinar, The Future of Biometrics. Thank you, Max. The format for this update will be a question and answer style. I have prepared a list of questions with input from several industry colleagues. After my prepared questions, we will be pleased to cover the ones sent in by you. And now on to our first question. For those of our readers not fully aware of your project, can you please give us a brief overview of how the process began?
Thank you, Peters, for inviting me to today's webinar. I am pleased and honored to participate in this webinar. And I have been looking forward to this opportunity to talk to you about the unique project that the Government of India has launched last year. I am, as you have already introduced me, thank you for a very generous and a very, what you call very good introduction. I am B.B Nanawati here, as Mr. Peters told you. Deputy Director General from Unique Identification Authority of India. And to set the context, the reasons for this large identity project which was taken up by the Government of India has been basically 2 to 3 large concerns of the Government of India. One, that large number of poor people in this country do not have any identity to go with them. They are living in the villages. India is a country of 600,000 villages. 400 to 500 million people live in these villages, and a large number of these people do not carry any identity. They have been living there from years, decades, and hundreds of years. People know them that they are living here, but they don't carry any identity proof. And in today's scenario, where government is coming out with a lot of subsidies and a lot of schemes for the poor people, identity has become a main issue. So, considering this, the government of India decided to launch this program in 2009. Not only this, a poor person, to avail the various benefits of various schemes, has to establish his identity for every benefit that he wants to take. Whether his family wants to take an old pension account, child education scholarship, health insurance, or a piece of land, or a housing loan, or minimum wages that he is entitled to. These all schemes are disbursed by various government departments, and as a result of this, wherever he goes to a different department, he has to repeatedly establish his ID. So these were the two main reasons for the government to launch this program. This program doesn't establish his citizenship, nor it gives any entitles or rights to the individuals, but it just establishes the identity of an individual. That is the main core of this program. That is how it is.
Thank you. And can you review the pre-launch phases for us, how it all began?
Yes, what I'll do that I'll take you to a slide which will tell us about the pre-launch sessions. So if you see, the Unique Identification Authority was set up in January 2009, September 2009. The Cabinet Minister, Mr. Nandan Nilekani, who is the chairman of the UIDAI, was appointed in September 2009. And then in October, the critical mass of staff came into place. And on 3rd of March 2010, we appointed the project management consultant. And thereafter, the application development contract was initiated in April 2010. The data center, the POC, the proof of concept was taken in June 2010. The biometric service providers, the multimodal 3 biometric service providers were appointed in July 2010, and we went live in September 2010 in one of the villages of India, where the Prime Minister inaugurated this session. Today, and in 1 month, we went live in 3 federal states in the Government of India, and by November 2010, we were live in 6 states. Today, it is almost live in 11 federal states. That is how the pre-launch program was conceptualized and implemented. The important thing is to see is for inception to production, the entire cycle was completed in a very short time, and that is the hallmark of this project. If you see, the many identity projects take 2 to 3 years to conceive, to design, and to plan and implement. But here, because of a unique experiment of private professionals and government people coming together, we were able to launch this program from inception to production in less than 14 months, less than 14 to 16 months.
That is a very impressive activity, and I must congratulate you on the fact that has been carried out in such a short period of time. How many Aadhaar numbers have now been issued, Nanawati?
Okay, I'll come to another slide. Yeah. If you see, the Aadhaar program was launched by our Prime Minister in September 29 in one of the tribal villages of India. And the entire population of 1,500 people was covered there. So till date, we have generated 9.8 million numbers. And by the end of this June, we are going to touch 10 million numbers. When we started the program, the rate of IDs was 50 IDs per day. And today it has reached up to 150,000 per day. And by end of next month, we will be touching 300 to 400,000 enrollments per day. And our public target is that by October 2011, a couple of months from now, we will be scaling it up to 1 million enrollments per day and corresponding generation of 1 million Aadhaars per day. That is our target. Today we are touching around 2.5 to 300,000 per day.
Boy, that's very impressive.
And that is our goal is that by year 2014 or say by middle of 2015, we will touch 600 million enrollments.
That's great. Now, the slide on my screen is not updating. I don't know whether you were trying to move yours forward, but if you're trying to do so, it didn't show up on my screen.
Okay.
I just wanted to let you know that. And how will the Aadhaar enhance the delivery of financial services to the general population of India, particularly those without traditional banking relationships? The inclusion and financial inclusion is one of the cornerstones of a UID project, because we don't want this number to remain purely an identity number. Unless this identity number, which is given to millions of poor people, enables them to access the benefits of the government schemes, subsidies, and also brings them into the financial umbrella, and it takes them into the financial inclusion schemes of the government of India, the Aadhaar number would just remain an identity number. So along with the launch of this program, along at the time of enrollment, what the authority has done is that at the time of capture of the demographic data, we also capture the financial data of the residents, especially the poor people, which is known as Know Your Residence Plus data, that is KYR plus data. And this KYR plus data is about the existing bank accounts, and if the individuals don't have the existing bank accounts, we capture the data that whether they would like to open a bank account for themselves, capture the details about the rural life insurance if they're a partner of it, or the rural employment guarantee scheme job cards, or the public distribution system, the ration system card number. So all this data is captured along with the enrollment data, which is known as KYR plus data. And this data is used to open the bank accounts. It would be interesting to know that the Reserve Bank of India has already issued a notification which equates the Aadhaar number with the Know Your Customer norms for a bank. Essentially, it means that the Aadhaar number is equal to Know Your Customer norms, and banks on that basis will be able to open the no-frills account for the residents. And that is how the banks would open the accounts for these poor people, and on the basis of this Aadhaar number, through a payment gateway which is already under construction, the financial
data or the wages or the cash equivalent of their wages or the cash equivalent of their subsidies can be directly transferred to their account. So that is how the traditional banking relationship would be impacted and the financial services would be implemented. If I may show you a slide on this.
B.B Nanawati, we just had a comment in from one of our attendees. Thank you very much for that. I think you've got two PowerPoint slides open on your system, and I think you're updating the one, but I think we're seeing the other one. So if you could change, cancel the one, then we'll get the correct slide to see, okay? Hello?
Yeah. Is it okay now? Are you seeing the slide which is Ram's effort to collect his entry dues?
No, we're seeing still the main driver behind the UID, the number 1 slide. So I think you've got two PowerPoint programs open on your computer.
No, it's the same only. I'll close my. I'll go back.
But not to worry, I'm just going to continue on with our questions. It's good to have some slides, but I really want to get to the questions, okay? Is that all right?
Okay, just a second, 1 second here. Yeah, is it okay now? Is it okay now?
No, but not to worry. We will. I'm gonna take back control of the screen, and you can. We'll fire it back and we'll try it again. But I want to move on to the next question, please, and that is, what role will an identity card play in leveraging the Aadhaar unique identity infrastructure? And will there be a separate card issued by local authorities for such things as voting, social services, student ID, etc.? Or will there be one card issued by the central government for all services? And if it is one card, will it be a smart card or a simple card technology like a barcode code scenario?
Yeah, to set the context right, as a policy, the authority isn't issuing any card to the residents. It issues a letter, and along with that letter there is a perforated paper card, something similar to Social Security number card in USA. And that becomes the unique identity card for the residents. This number, the identity number, in conjunction with the online authentication services, which the unique identity authority is going to launch simultaneously by the end of this year. So that will enable the residents to leverage the Aadhaar number for the services that they deserve. So number plus online authentication services on the web, which has never been done before anywhere else in the world. So these things put together will enable the Aadhaar number to utilize the services. Now, the model of the identity authority is a partnership model. And our partners, which we call them as registrars, have the freedom to issue cards to its customers or to its group of residents. For example, a bank, if it's a registrar of the authority, then the bank has the freedom to issue smart cards or the biometric cards or the magnetic card or the barcoded card, any type of card to its customers or to its residents to use the Aadhaar number platform. So that is the scheme of the Unique Identification Authority. Local authorities can issue their cards for enabling their customers or the residents to avail the social services within their area. Educational institutions, universities, they can issue the cards to their students, which are Aadhaar number enabled cards, to enable them to utilize or use the authentication services built along the Aadhaar platform. So all this flexibility is given to the registrars, whom we call them as our partners. But Unique Identification Authority as such, to begin with, till now, has not decided either to issue smart cards or barcoded cards to the residents when allocating the number. So that is the scheme right now.
Well, thank you very much for that. And has privacy around data protection been an issue at all? Have some, and also have some residents refused to enroll?
I want to share with my colleagues who are listening to me that India is a democracy, it's a democratic country, and it is a very vibrant civil society institution. There have been what you call concerns about the privacy of the people, but this issue has been addressed at a policy level by the authority. How we have addressed this issue is that the number that we are going to issue is a 12-digit random number. It doesn't permit any profiling on the number. Secondly, transaction records of the authentication would not be kept. So these two features of the number, Aadhaar, that is no profiling, being it a random number, and that it doesn't, the number itself would not allow anybody to guess the religion or the status or the caste or the residence of a person. So to that extent, the number itself would guarantee privacy. Secondly, there is going to be a parliamentary legislation which is under consideration by the Parliament of India, and that legislation would provide a framework for protection of the individual's privacy. So in this manner, the privacy would be protected. But however, there are a large number of people who are concerned about the privacy issue. But we are in constant dialogue with the civil society members, with the Parliamentary Standing Committee, who is considering all these issues before the legislation comes into play. And as a policy, the authority has made its objective very clear that no profiling, no transaction records, no sharing of database with any other government agency. That would substantially protect the privacy. And secondly, it's purely and entirely voluntary program. So to answer to that second question, that whether the residents are refusing to enroll, as of now, we have not heard of residents refusing to enroll. There's a huge demand which is already generated into the country. But it's a voluntary program. It doesn't enforce that everybody ought to have a UID number. It's not mandatory from the Government of India. So to that extent, the features of the UID number are very, very clear and well laid down.
Well, thank you very much for that. And just before we finish, we have a couple of questions in from our audience, and I wanted to share those with you. The first question is, what has been the greatest challenge you have faced to date with this project?
I would put them into three categories. One is the challenges of the operations and the processes. How to make this program acceptable to a large section of people. How to create a demand so that the UID number becomes an voluntary and automatic program and people adapt it very fast. That is one of the challenges. So that challenges we have made by signing memorandum of understanding with all the federal states in the country. More than 20-25 public financial institutions, be it the banks, be it the insurance companies, and the National Depositories Limited, who are helping us in creating meeting the enrollment target. So this is how to create the demand and how to convince everybody about the utility of this program. The second challenge is, of course, the technology challenge, especially to meet the large volumes which the program is going to cater to. Whether we build the system from day one in a manner that from day one it is able to cater to the large volumes, or we build it in a manner that we do it in stages, step by step, and at every step provide the mechanism and framework for technology refresh, so that whenever the new technology, whether be it in the field of biometrics, whether be it in the field of computing, whether be it in the field of data centers, so that we are able to take advantage of this new technology and build the system as we move on the scale of enrollment. So that is the second largest challenge that we have faced to date. So in the second challenge, what we have taken is that we have adapted a step-by-step approach. It means that we are building the system for 100 million, and we are ready to take the system up to 200 million volumes. And at 200 million volumes, we'll do a technology refresh and see that the system can be scaled up to next level of 300 million or 400 million. So that is how the second challenge that we are going to address. And the third challenge is, of course, to provide the authentication online services. If you see, most of the identity programs of the world are either or else have the objective of immigration control, cross-border management, crime and criminal tracking, visa, immigration, all these challenges, all the objectives of the identity program. For the first time, what we are doing is that we are architecting the biometric technology for a social purpose. That is, provide the uniqueness through the biometric and demographic data, and based on that unique number, create a framework of online authentication in the country and make the people, provide the people with their entitlements, especially large section of the underprivileged people. So that is the third challenge. The processes, the operations, the technology, how to scale it up to meet the volumes, and thirdly, how to provide the online authentication services online on the web. We are doing a proof of concept. First proof of concept has been done for providing the online authentication. Now we are in the process of undertaking another proof of concept, and hopefully by the end of this year we should be able to crack that.
Well, thank you very much, and I just have one other question that has come through that I'd like you to answer, please, if you may. We understand that the enrollment will grow to over 1 million per day in the near future. Can you tell us something about that, please?
Yes, we are anticipating large volumes by the last quarter of this year. We have around 20,000 enrollment stations lined up for rollout. Today we have reached a target of 10,000 enrollment stations working in the country. And if we have the data that in next couple of months, next 3 to 4 months, another 10,000 enrollment stations would be in place. And we see a volume of 40 to 50 enrollments per day on each enrollment center. And if we, to that extent, the volumes are likely to grow to 1 million per day by October, November. At the same time, at the back end, we are trying to scale up the system, the multimodal biometric system that we have put in place. The 3 agencies, the Sargent Morpho, the L1 Identity Solution, and the Accenture are gearing up to meet the volumes. They are committed and they are in line with us, committed to provide us a throughput of 1 million enrollments deduplication per day. So by the end of October, we hope to have a capacity of 30 million deduplication per day under this multimodal A-based solution, and we hope to meet that. So that is how we are progressing forward on that target of 1 million per day. I'll take a second to put our aspirations before you. It's a large country, population of 1.2 billion people. If you don't enroll at this rate, and if you don't seek to enhance the volumes very fast, we will not be able to complete this project even for next 15 to 20 years. So our endeavor and our hope is to complete this project as soon as possible, reach a critical mass of 600 to 700 million in the next 3 to 4 years, and then correct the rest of the problem so that the entitlements can be dispersed on the ground very quickly. So that is our idea.
Thank you very much. Now, we're getting a lot of questions in, Nanawati, so I just want to try and if I can, take just a couple more minutes of your time. One other question has just come in. For enrollment, you use several types of biometric modalities, 3 to be precise. Later during authentication, which biometric is the primary?
What we are doing for authentication, that the multimodal biometric solution providers are extracting the minutiae in their proprietary templates. But authentication is a framework which is going to be designed by the system integrator and the managed service provider, which the authority is going to appoint very soon. The multimodal biometric solution providers has the responsibility of providing the SDKs to us, and the authentication would be completely based on ISO templates and ISO minutiae templates, and they will be interoperable with all the multimodal SDKs. It will be agnostic to the front-end extracting device. So the extracting device at the front end will be interoperable with the back-end matcher device system, and the interoperability would be set up. Minutiae would be there in the ISO template, and that would be the basis for what you call the authentication system. I hope I have made myself clear on that.
You have. Thank you very much for that. And just one final one. The questions are still coming in. Could Mr. Nanawati elaborate a bit more on the authentication process and how it would be possible possible without creating a backlog during this process? So I guess the question basically is how are you going to manage a speedy authentication process?
So we have a complete authentication framework coming in place. It will be available in our portal in a couple of weeks' time. We have the on our portal published the APIs, the authentication APIs. The micro ATM devices specifications are there on our portal. There will be a middle layer of authentication user agencies and authentication user aggregators. So the authority would deal with the authentication user agencies, and it will be the responsibility of the authentication user agency to manage the downstream the processes and the devices. The managed service provider, the system integrator, which the authority is likely to appoint in a couple of months from now, the contracts are already in the process. That agency will have the primary responsibility of managing the authentication framework from end to end. It will be distributed in a large number of data centers across the country. The load would be distributed, and the SLAs for authentication are already defined for the multimodal ABS players. It is less than 3 seconds for low-level authentication, and between 3 seconds to 4 seconds for high-level authentication. So the framework is in place, the proof of concepts are going on, the technology choice is yet to be firmed up, and that is how the authentication framework is going to be put in place near soon.
Well, thank you very much, Nanawati, for sharing all that information and for taking the questions that have come in. I just wanted to let our attendees know that the slides that Nanawati was referring to will be available on our website, and we will also be sharing those with you via the system here. So again, thank you very much, Nanawati, for taking the time to speak with us. That concludes our presentation today. Have a good weekend all. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you. Thank you for giving this opportunity to participate in this webinar.
Thanks, Nanawati.